I used to do handyman type work around my town to earn extra cash. One of my jobs was at a police lieutenant's house doing landscaping and gardening. The whole week I was there, this fool kept bragging about his amazing pork and stuffing sandwiches and saying how he'd make me one on Friday. Well, Friday came, and true to his word, the lieutenant came outside, bringing me a pork and stuffing sandwich. I bit into that thing and blammo, a massive chunk of fat and gristle that made me gag. I held my composure and pretended to enjoy the sandwich, forcing a fake smile and thumbs up. The lieutenant turned around and went to the front yard. I spat out that massive chunk of fat and bread immediately. I then took the half-chewed, spit-up food, along with the rest of the sandwich, and proceeded to bury them both in a hole I'd already dug in the back of the garden. There was no chance of me choking that nasty thing down. I put a big rock on top of the filled-in hole before standing there for a moment, admiring my ingenuity. I was confident no one would ever find out. My sandwich had just become extra fertilizer for his garden, I thought. I then got back to work. Well, about 30 minutes later, his wife lets their twat of a boxer dog out for a piss. I had totally spaced the fact that he even had a dog. So I'm chatting with Lieutenant, going on about how amazing the sandwich was, yada yada yada, being polite, etc., when that bastard of a dog proceeded to dig under the rock, retrieving the complete sandwich, bringing it over and eating it right at his feet. To this day, I still haven't experienced a moment this awkward. The lieutenant never hired me back for handiwork after that ever again. So, my mom works at this old folks' home, and she was chatting with their minibus driver one day. Apparently, every day, this little old lady from the home would give him a hazelnut from a big bag before getting on board, and he'd happily eat it, telling her how sweet they were. End of the week came, and she offered him some chocolate-covered hazelnuts. The little old lady said to the bus driver, "I hope you don't mind the chocolate on these ones. I haven't sucked any of it off yet." Cue eyes as wide as saucer plates and lots of dry heaving from the bus driver. And a lesson learned. Don't take sweets from a resident unless they're still wrapped and sealed. My wife is currently breastfeeding. Once, during mid-feed, the doorbell rang. She goes to answer it, and the delivery driver would not look at her. Just kept staring at the doorframe, the sky, the driveway, the yard, the house numbers, the porch light, the spider building a nest in the porch light. Anywhere but her. She dismissed him as being generally a bit odd until she sat back on the sofa to continue feeding the baby and realized her very large boob had been hanging out of her top the entire time. I went to Italy with my partner around 7 years ago. It was a very hot day, and we were lost. I finally convinced him that we should go to a local cafe to grab a drink and directions. I ordered a Diet Coke, to which my partner mocked me for traveling all the way to Italy just to drink the same thing as back home. He then ordered a latte, and we sat down. Well, wouldn't you know it, the barista took his order literally and delivered him a huge glass of milk. His pride wouldn't let him get a different drink. So there he sat in 90-degree heat choking down milk, whilst I smugly drank my Diet Coke. Cue Anchorman. Milk was a bad choice. I had just chugged a Pepsi and my sister was lying down on her bed. With a glint of evil in my eyes, I leaned over, getting ready to let out the largest belch that was stirring in me, right at her. She looks up at me, and I get ready to release this ghastly mouth fart right on her face. Instead of a belch, I vomited up bile and Pepsi right into her eye. She ran to the bathroom screaming, "You threw up in my eye! Holy hell, it burns!" I was laughing so hard that I ended up throwing up again on myself. That was 10 years ago, and we both can't tell this story without laughing about it. My friends and I were at this bar, and a cover band was playing. The lead singer was being very obnoxious. He was hitting on all the women in the audience in a very lewd manner, and he was being far too pretentious for someone in a lame cover band. It was making everyone uncomfortable and annoyed. At one point during the show, he says, "I would like someone special to take the microphone and say a few words." He then lowered the microphone stand so that the microphone was right where his crotch was. I don't know how he had originally planned this segment to pan out, but before he could say anything, I yelled in a high-pitched voice, "I'm so tiny!" The singer was stunned. The audience laughed and cheered. Clearly flustered, he awkwardly raised the stand again and went into the next song. I don't think I'll ever have that good of a comeback again. I used to own a very large ginger cat called Roger. He was very friendly and well behaved, but would foolishly eat almost anything. One day, I noticed something white sticking out of his butt. I assumed he had worms, but on closer inspection, I realized that it appeared to be some type of string. I decided it had to be removed, so I got my wife to hold on to him while I pulled it out. I quickly realized that it wasn't actually string, it was shearing elastic, which looks like a thick string but is stretchy. This made the whole exercise a lot riskier. The wife had a yowling cat pinned to the kitchen floor, and I was at the other end of the room pulling out several meters of poopy elastic. I wanted it out for his sake, but was dreading reaching the end and getting poop slingshotted at my face. Eventually, I plastic bagged it, coiled it up, and cut it off. We decided to just let Roger poop out the rest. We never did find out just how much he'd swallowed in total, as he'd wandered off to someone else's property to do it. We pulled out about 4 meters and it was still coming, so who knows? He was none the worse for the experience, unlike me, that crazy cat.